Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today, we're talking Lady C. We're on chapter 6 of Lady C's book, Meghan and Harry, The Real Story. And boy, is it ever. Today, we are getting into the royal wedding. And look, I happen to find a beautiful picture of Harry and Meghan. Look how pretty. Look, the outsides represent the insides, right? Guys, I'm excited to dive into this with you today. Huge thank you to Lady C for your wonderful book. I'm enjoying it so much. I really want to have tea with her one day. Okay, let's get into this. If you want to further support the show, check out Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. We have a lot of fun over there. It's a great group. We're having lively discussions in the comments. Jay and I have been breaking down interviews given and different things that have popped up in the news with Harry and Meghan, so I definitely encourage you to check it out. I will be thanking my executive producers, and if you're interested in becoming one, again, patreon.com. Look, I found another picture of Meghan. Looking good, huh? She's smiling. Yay. Oh, you guys. Oh, it's Friday. I felt like having a little fun in the photos, but I'm going to be showing wedding photos in this one because we are talking about the time of the wedding. Remember, they got married the 19th of May, 2016. And Maggie Poo chose to have one of her family members there. Sure, we'll get into that. So Lady C starts out the chapter by quoting Pharrell Williams. Yep, the guy that sang Happy, amongst other things. And I say that because we played that at our wedding, actually. Okay, so Pharrell Williams apparently told Harry and Meghan, quote, "I'm so happy for your union. Love is amazing. Love is beautiful. Don't ever take it for granted. But what it means in today's climate, I just want to tell you, it's so significant for so many of us. Seriously, we cheer you guys on." Okay. Harry and Meghan's response was indicative of their attitudes. While she nodded graciously, completely in tune with the sentiments, she said, quote, "Oh, thank you," before stating that her critics don't make it easy. So she'd missed the point entirely, which is now she had this duty to live up to, and no matter how difficult it was, she would be dashing the hopes of everyone everywhere if it were to fail. Oh, and fail it did. So what Lady C is pointing out is that it's beside the point whether the critics made it easy or not. Indeed, the mere fact that they did not was all the more reason to ensure that they succeeded in the role that, she was embodying. But of course, they have to have that victim mentality. They have to have that narrative, that horrible attitude, right? Nothing's their fault, even though it sounds like they were planning this or she was planning this from the beginning. I got really into this part of the book, and it's not that Lady C goes deep into the actual antics behind the scenes at the weddings. Believe me, I would like to hear about 10 hours of that. It was more about just pointing out things I honestly hadn't truly thought of. Meghan's adjustment to her royal role would have been much more successful if, to quote Lady C, if someone had pointed out that she had been perfectly happy to pay the price for being a cast member of Suits. And what she means is, like, think about how you'd have to hang around on set. And again, I love Lady C because she makes these digs at Meghan that I love. Quote, "She willingly hung around the set waiting for 3 minutes of filming while she shot the breeze with the film crew for hours on end." So what she's pointing out is, so all these hours, you're just waiting around. It's a lot of boring stuff for a few minutes of your on time, and it's just part of it. It's part of the price you pay for the fame that comes along with it, right? Or the paycheck or whatever you're in it for. She'd have to do things like be a team player with the crew, although it sounds like, according to Tom Bower's book, that wasn't always the case. But Lady C points out she had willingly allowed herself to be used on publicity junkets, and when none was in the offering, she had volunteered for others she had volunteered for things like humanitarian work. Okay, all part of the job, right? But she wasn't willing to do the job in terms of being a royal. She wasn't willing it goes along with that we should be getting paid for this mentality, right? She just wasn't willing to, quote, play the game. She wasn't willing to play along or play nicely with others. She was jeopardizing her chances of success as a result of her attitude. So Lady C goes on to say, here was Meghan, barely married, already bemoaning her lot and wanting to be taken for a hardship case while also demanding that everyone do everything her way. Success as a royal duchess was only possible if she remained a team player, if she understood that the game had changed and that she had a new role and a part to play. But there were still boundaries. She had to play along. She had to be nice about things, and she just wasn't willing to do that. She'd only received the praise she was looking for if she understood that it would take an entirely new form from what she was used to. So she would have to settle for an entirely different sort of gratification, this time more intellectualized, spiritual version that would be less obvious, but no less real or significant versus, what she was used to on the set of Suits. One of my favorite quotes of this part of the book, it's page 158, if you're keeping up, I highlighted in my book because I thought it was so good and so well said by Lady C. There's Meghan. If you are the sixth dancer in a chorus line and you're supposed to kick after number 5 and before number 7, you screw up the whole routine if you do so out of time. So that's what the analogy is, explaining how you have to work with each other in the royal family and how it all works. So in regards to the wedding, it sounds like it went really well. Behind the scenes, it was a massive relief that the day itself went off as well as it did, minus the unfortunate publicity involving Meghan's father and the rest of the Markle family. Who do we have to blame for that? Meghan herself. I'm going to interrupt myself and say, look at your screen. Look at this beautiful, adorable... I'm not even talking about Catherine here. I normally would. Look at Charlotte. She's so cute. I love this picture so much. She's so sweet. And screw Meghan Markle. Treating this beautiful little angel as anything less than that, Meghan's a terrible person. Also, I love Catherine. I have to put that there. Okay, so continuing on with Lady C, she explains that apparently Harold continued to say that what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. It comes up several times in the book that he fully backed her and they demanded control of the wedding, notwithstanding neither of them having any financial responsibility for it, despite her being a newcomer to the royal scene and him acting as if she should be allowed to break every existing precedent and rule. So Meghan had never been disruptive or disrespectful of the parameters laid down by the producers of Suits, Lady C says. Again, Tom Bower paints a little different picture, but I see where she's going. She played by the rules on set of Suits to ensure it was a success. She had been happy to fit herself into that scheme of things, but yet here, not the case. So Lady C goes on to explain that nobility is not just a matter of rank, but it's a way of being, which is why one of the biggest insults in elite circles is to accuse someone of not knowing how to behave, and that's something that obviously we've heard time and time again, well, not only of Meghan, but also of Harry, but mostly of Meghan, it sounds like. It therefore came as something of a surprise for Meghan to indicate, with Harry's full backing, to many people she was now associating with, that she had regarded their way of life, their values, their codes of conduct as way beneath hers. So think about that. She's going around telling people, well, according to Lacey, she almost spelled it out, that she was here to, quote, rescue us from our pathetic way of doing things. This is according to a courtier who spoke to Lady C. So just take that in, the breathtaking arrogance of that. She's so, well, to quote Lady C, breathtakingly sure of being in the right at all times that she is beyond arrogant. I've never seen anyone in my life so entirely lacking in self-doubt. She's so upfront about it that she's beyond shameless. She walks into a room, takes over, tells everyone how she wants things to be, and sashays out, expecting everyone to fulfill her demands. She's beyond dominance, beyond a dominatrix. She fancies herself a force of nature, and a perfect one at that. And Harry considers her perfect. Oh my gosh, you guys. I put stars all over this passage because I couldn't believe it. Again, Lady C, huge credit. She just explains it to a T, and I can hear you screaming into your TV or computer or phone, whatever you're watching me on as well, because that is just the most infuriating thing. To walk into the royal family and to try to change them because you think you know better. I've never heard of anyone so arrogant in my entire life. So then Lady C says, with hindsight, it's obvious that Meghan had an agenda where her wedding was concerned. Yes, she did. She wanted it to be the most beautiful, glamorous occasion. Too bad she missed the mark on her dress. It must be the perfect setting for her introduction to the world at large. It would establish her as a, quote, beautiful, desirable, classy, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at that, woman of style and taste, and someone who had everything, every virtue, from superficial style and beauty to profound depth of character. Yeah, we saw that when she stepped out of her car and swatted that poor guy's hand away. That's real classy, real depth of character there. Then Lady C went on to address that guest list. So it was obvious. She wanted her mother there, but nobody else. No other relatives, no friends, nobody raining on her parade. She was flying high and didn't want too many links with the past that she had left behind. She saw herself as what would be an A-lister after this and intended to reinforce her status by having real A-listers such as George and Amal Clooney there, notwithstanding knowing them only slightly. So Lady C unfortunately doesn't go too much into her specific antics here. She does, like in one sentence, mention making Catherine cry. Again, as we've heard, it was over Charlotte's dress. But she did go a little bit into like we've heard, the scent of the St. George's Chapel where they got married, and was trying to, spray perfume in the chapel, and she was blocked from spraying it all over the ancient chapel, quote, so it wouldn't smell like the ladies' room at Soho House. So Lady C points out she's attended many events at St. George's Chapel over the years, and it's known for a subtle, delightful fragrance. Basically, Meghan was just being Meghan. So then Lady C has Meghan quoted as saying, "It's our wedding, and we want it done our way." And again, she goes into how Harry actually had little or no input beyond repeating the mantra, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. So she points out he was throwing around, Lady C points out that Meg was throwing around like she and Harry were on the same page, but he was he's just a puppet. Now, the other little tidbit I learned that I didn't realize was apparently not only did they invite all those celebrities that they barely knew or didn't know at all, but they also put hundreds of people associated with charities. They invited them, which, quote, ratified their credentials as humanitarians who think in terms of charity. I just found that so interesting. So they can't invite any of her family, but they'll invite these people they don't know to give the appearance of being humanitarians. There were many that were left out. Lady C refers to them as, quote, the wider cousinage, that they had plenty of she talks about there were hundreds of available seats in the chapel, and yet people like Lady Amelia Windsor and others were left out. They were glaring omissions, but they'd still rather have these celebrities that they barely met. Again, I go back to, well, hell, they'd rather have the celebrities they've never met versus her family. Also excluded was Harry's good friend Tom Skippy Inskip. Remember, he's the one whose wedding Meghan allegedly crashed because she and Harry were on a break or broken up or whatever, and So we got all these photos that look like this, where Meghan's pissed and glaring at people, and it's kind of hilarious to look at. But anyway, why was he not included? What was his offense? Well, he tried to warn Harry about not rushing into the marriage. So Harry had been an usher at this wedding. They had been friends forever. Things did not go well with Meghan being there. Tom had tried to warn Harry, hey, maybe slow things down. Meghan got wind of it, and that was that for Skippy. He was not invited to their wedding. So then Lady C goes back into why didn't she invite her family? We know why. And what a mistake that was. And if she had invited them and shown that she was proud of her family and her ascent into this world, that she was not ashamed of her roots, then she would have enhanced her reputation. Quote, instead of which the omission of inviting her family called her values into question. It was a fatal error on her and Harry's part. But that's what you get, right? When you're a know-it-all and you think you know better than everybody else and you make these mistakes, you're going to make these mistakes like this because you won't take advice from anybody else. And then Lady C finishes out the chapter by revisiting that garden party that we talked about in chapter 1. Remember, she alludes to something happened and she'll explain more when it's that time. Well, guess what? It's that time. This was 3 days after the wedding. Harry and Meghan attended the garden party at Buckingham Palace celebrating Charles's 70th birthday. Now, a lot of you guys told me it's because of the I'm bored thing and something about gifts. I wish Lady C had gone into the gift thing. She didn't. I've had a lot of people allege in the comments that she did something inappropriate with gifts. I'd love more information on this. Did she take the gifts? Did she try to take gifts? Tell me what you've heard and I'll do some Googling. But what Lady C reports on is that they attended the garden party and in the presence of representatives of many charities and associates, Meghan looked beautiful. Harry stepped out on the lawn. They plunged in. They took their pictures and what happened? Meghan, quote, turned to Harry and said, Harry, this is really boring. Let's leave. To his credit, he informed her that they would have to stay. She said then, quote, but Harry, this is so boring. We've done our bit. Everyone knows we're here. Let's go. Harry asserted that they had to stay and they moved on. I've also had many of you in the comments tell me the stupid tongue thing she's doing here where she thinks she's being super cute and it's really disgusting and disrespectful. She's aiming that at Camilla. Lady C points out that is something you could do in Hollywood. You could get dressed up, you can pose for the pictures, you can stay for a few minutes and then take off, be in the news. Meghan clearly didn't appreciate or understand the civic duties of royalty and aristocracy involving meeting and greeting people on occasions such as these. She didn't understand the difference between a movie star's appearance and the reality of a royal appearance. I read those verbatim from Lady C. I'm going to go with that's a lovely sentiment that she didn't understand. I'm going to say that she didn't give a shit. That would go with the narcissism that we all have come to know from Meghan. But that was all she told us about this garden party. I'd love to know more. I want to be a fly on the wall there. I want to know what actually happened, all the details. But the last part of this chapter was so funny. I was laughing so hard. I'm just going to read you a line. Ready? This is on page 170 if you're following along. Okay. Here we go. It was that Duke of Sussex had gained himself a new nickname at the palace. He was known as Blowjobs Harry because people there were convinced that his brains had been addled through mind-blowingly good sex. Wow. Somebody says it would be touching if it wasn't so dangerous. So then in the next paragraph, Lady C calls him Blowjobs Harry and calls her Meghans. Love it so much. Such a good chapter. I thought it was really good. I really want to know more of those details, like at the garden party, but this is great. Lady C is doing a fantastic job. I'm loving this book, and I can't wait to dive into chapter 7 with you guys. Of course, when Lady C, Catherine, and I go for tea, I'll bring you all with me and tell you all about it. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy you're here, and I hope you're enjoying this book as much as I am. I'm really enjoying this deep dive. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I hope you are too. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and for supporting the show. And if you want to further support, again, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/realhousewivesrecaps, where you can become an executive producer. So I would like to thank my executive producers so much for all the support. So a huge thank you to you guys for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. So a huge thank you, Linda. Thank you to Melissa. Huge thank you, Paige. Thank you to Teresa. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mr. K. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Aaron and Frank. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Ann M. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Ann H. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Kay King. Thank you, Glynis. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Dewey. Thank you, Patty. Thank you to Adair Becker. Thank you to Erica. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Barb G. Thank you, Diana LOL. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Allison B. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Pauline. And thank you, KT. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Stromboli. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Carla. And thank you, Lois, for being here. Really appreciate all of you. If you want to become an executive producer, check out patreon.com/realhousewivesrecaps.